back to the veg garden. Today's video I'll be talking to you about my plans for the upcoming season. So I'm going to start at the furthest end of the garden and work my way up, just in order of things, where things are and stuff. So to start off with, the bucket garden. You probably haven't seen the bucket garden in quite some time, but I've been moving things around in the hopes of making a area where I can put all my worm farms, so then I know everything worm farm related is there in one place, so it's more efficient. And then I'm going to call it the fertility station, because then I'm going to have all these JLFs and buckets to soak manures and weeds in. I'm also going to have a little patch of comfrey there, just to make comfrey teas and stuff. So a company called British Comfrey actually sent me some comfrey cuttings the other day, and they're coming on quite well. I've just potted them on. I'll put a link in the description to them. And then that little tunnel that I've got on the concrete pad as well, I'm hoping to put that into production of a heritage runner bean variety, just to produce some seeds, and then I'll put some tomatoes and cucumbers in with it, just so it's not all runner beans, just in case it does fail then the tunnel isn't completely wasted. And then I'm going to put a row of mint buckets in. I've already got these buckets, I just need to move them from other places into a row, so then if I want to make mint sauce I can just go through and clear that whole patch there. It also looks really nice when they flower. It'll just be like a hedge of mint, and all different flowers, like at different times, because they're different varieties of mint. And then I'm going to have some veg in that trough. No, I'm not. I'm going to have some tree seeds in there. I've got beech and oak and conkers sown in there, so I'm going to hopefully have some trees to grow. And then the buckets are going to be used in an experiment this year of growing true potato seeds. I've already mentioned these true potato seeds, but that's where they'll be growing, in round buckets, so then I know what each plant has produced, because some of them can produce really long runners underground, so if I did them in rows in the ground I wouldn't know exactly what potatoes come from what plant. So it's my way of controlling the experiment. And then the terraces are just going to be flowers and veg, just planted up like a normal garden would. Then we move on to the food forest. Now this is the biggest problem I've got in this season so far, is there's quite a lot of weeds in the food forest, so I need to weed out the food forest, and then I'm just going to mulch it with whatever I can get my hands on. So grass clippings on the lawns, and a bit of goat manure, chop and drop from the food forest itself, and just build up the soil through just chucking anything and anything at it, everything and anything at it, and hope for the best, really. Because it's one of those areas where you don't need to manage it constantly, and it doesn't need to be under constant surveillance. It's one of those areas of the garden where you can just let it get on with, do its own thing and see what happens with it. I am going to sow some clover, red clover, to fix some nitrogen and act as a ground cover in there. And I've also picked up a pack of seeds called Fruit Tree Protection Mix, and it's just a load of different plants that attract beneficial pollinators and beneficial insects to a site. So if I sow them, then it should attract in things like ladybugs and lacewings and bees that will help the fruit trees establish more. Should also give me a bit of a ground clear cover to protect against weeds, and also it looks quite nice as well, all these different flowers and herbs. The top garden I'm going to use primarily as my kitchen garden, so anything that I don't need to sow a lot of, or we don't eat a lot of. So that's why it's all laid out into nice small beds. I'm going to keep everything in reasonably small patches, so I want no patch to be really larger than half a square metre. That way it just looks really nice when everything's broken up into little patches. Another thing I'm planning on doing this year as well is not sowing like last year. I was sowing like whole trays of cabbage and then not really using any, only using like 10 out of the row, and then the others would go in all week, and then I was planting them out and they weren't really coming of anything. So there's no point me planting and sowing loads of things if they're not going to crop as well as, say, if I only sow into, if I use more of these sort of size trays this year and have like just do half a dozen at a time, and it means they'll establish better and they'll have more room out in the garden, and there's more chance of me getting a crop from 6 cabbages or broccoli or any of the brassicas, these big brassicas. There's more chance of me getting a crop from 6 because I've got more attention on them than if I do a whole bed of them and only 3 actually come to producing food. So I'd rather sow small amounts, but of more things, so then I can do more varieties. And also succession sow, so you know, instead of doing 20 cabbages in one hit, do 4 trays of half a dozen, and then, you know, I'll have more cabbages that way as well over a longer period as well. I've come up with the plan of only sowing 12 cucumbers this year, and I think 12 plants should be enough to produce and supply us through the year. So I'm going to grow 6 indoor varieties, 6 indoor plants and 6 outdoor plants, and give them more attention than what otherwise I would be giving them if I was doing a whole tray. Because last year I planted 30 cucumbers in the tunnel and they didn't produce half as well as other cucumbers I'd seen growing on a wider spacing with other people. So, you know, I had the same amount of a crop but off more plants, so it doesn't make sense to plant more plants because I might as well have less plants but healthier plants. The new patch is going to be, I had intended of setting it out like a market garden, so 4-foot beds with a 1-foot path, 4-foot bed, 1-foot path, and then have 4 beds at the width and then have 2 beds for the length, because it was nearly 50 feet of a length. I was going to do it 25-foot beds then, and have a cross in the middle, so I'd have a 4 and a 4, so 8 beds in total. And I thought that would be a good way of laying it out, but because of the price of bark chips, like wood chips, I've decided that it'll probably be best if I do a 2 to 3 foot wide path down the middle and then just mulch either side with manure and compost, and then do composting paths coming off, so it's more like a leaf shape at like a 45-degree angle. And then in the front, by this main path, I want to have an archway. So I'm in the lookout for an archway at the moment, and then I'd like to put like a lavender hedge between the archway and the fences either side, so then it'll look quite nice then in the summer when it's all flowering, and then have like clematis and honeysuckles up the arch, and it should just look quite pleasing when you walk into the garden. Then you'll have a nice flower border first, and then perhaps I'm going to plant some sunflowers behind them on the first sort of bed, so that when you walk through the arch, it'll be like you won't see what's in the garden until you walk through the arch, is what I'm hoping to get, without putting a permanent fencing and trellising up. So You know, in the winter you'll be able to see through, but in the summer it could be like a nice little enclosed space, sort of. Yeah, and then seeds. I have talked about seeds quite a lot recently, but I want to get more heritage and heirloom seeds, so I am finding lots of little suppliers of seeds. I've got Seedsbeans seeds, Seeds to Suit, Tomato Revolution, all currently working with me. They are giving me seeds to grow. I've got a pack of seeds here from Seedsbeans. So most of these seeds are. This year I'm trialling a lot of different seed suppliers this year in the hopes of finding some really good ones. So then some new ones that I'll be working with this year are Seedsbeans. Now they only actually sell one variety at the moment, which is Nona Agnes, French bean, like a, well, it's not French bean, it's an Italian bean, but it's like a climbing bean. And they've got really nice blue seeds, and they're sort of between a navy blue, a steel blue and a black, like depends on where they grow. So the colder the climate that these beans grow, the bluer the seeds, which is quite cool. And they're actually a heritage variety from Italy. And then Mrtomatohead. This is quite a nice little company selling heritage varieties of tomatoes. As you can see here, they come from the United States. So there's Paul Robinson, Wild Sweetie, Chocolate Cherry, Brandywine, and I think there's Hillbilly in there as well, which is, I'm most looking forward to Hillbilly because it's a massive yellow beef steak, and the pictures of it just look amazing. I'm hoping to share and save as many seeds as possible this year as well. So really pushing the heritage seeds and sharing them out as widely as possible within my local community. So I am hoping to find more varieties from Wales and then save the seeds and then share the seeds with other gardeners in the area who then will be able to grow them on for themselves. Yeah, I want to cut down on commercial varieties purely because they don't taste as well, but I do want to keep a few because I am afraid that some of them are going to drop off the listings, and they are quite nice varieties. So I go off three things: yield, taste and colour. I know the last one isn't really that much of a big deal, but the reason I say this is because there was a potato variety called Purple Majesty, and I grew it last year, and they made the nicest chips we've ever had. Went to buy the seeds this year, couldn't find them anywhere, gone. The listings I have found of them were just like the true potato seeds, but I know they won't come genetically identical, so I might as well save my own seeds. I have saved my own seeds from Purple Majesty, so there's no point me buying them. So it's a bit disappointing that I can't find these varieties, and some of the ones I remember, other varieties I remember growing, have just disappeared. So I am hoping to save as many varieties as possible, even commercial ones, just in case they get dropped, because I know there's laws on heritage seeds not being able to be dropped by commercial seed companies, but they say nothing about the most modern varieties, which some of them can be good. You do get the occasional one that's good, so I am a bit worried about them, so I am saving as much as possible. I also want to increase efficiency in the garden, so that's why I've built this greenhouse designated for seed sowing, so I'd have to move all these trays and racks after when I need the soil underneath to plant. So because this is on concrete, this can stay like this all year round. Also, other things to improve efficiency are this belt, which tidily has my name on it and all, you know. It's quite a nice leather belt actually. And this was sent to me by Connell of Sheffield, but you can buy it through Buy Brand Tools. It's like a sister company, and Buy Brand are the company that sell it, so I'll put the link in the description to this belt. They sent it to me to try out. It's quite a nice belt actually. The delivery was amazing. The quality of the leather is immaculate. It's really hard wearing. You can feel the quality in it. I'm really happy with it actually. Where am I now? Danny from the Grapevine Garden has challenged me to the swedabaga challenge. Now, back to this pack of seeds, I'm going to be using this variety called Mrtomatohead, and it's a Welsh variety, so I know it's going to win because it's Welsh, and it's quite a good variety actually. It makes quite nice sized Swedes. So I've actually sown 3 rows in this tray here, and I'll prick them out. Well, I'll thin them out to 1 per module, and then I'm going to grow what am I going to grow, 4 or 5 in the polytunnel, and then a few outside to see then by the 31st of October which is the biggest. So I got faith in these. But my main sowing of Mrtomatohead will be later on in May. I also found a little YouTube channel the other day called Earth Grower. They're quite a good little channel. I decided to chuck this in there, and then what else have I got in here? And then finally, if you want any help with gardening advice, I'm more than happy to help. So if you just chuck a comment in the comment section on any video, I'll happily help you out as best as I can. That is, I'm not no expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I'd like to think I could help a little bit. After all, that's the main reason I started this channel, is to try and help other people grow a tidy-ish garden. I'm not going to say an amazing garden because I haven't got the skills for that yet, but I am hoping that I could help as much as possible. Please do subscribe and watch as many videos as you can, because that really helps my channel grow. And if my channel can grow, that means I can help more people start gardening. So it might sound a small task for you to just hit the like and subscribe button, but to me it means I can help so many more people achieve their goal of starting a garden. So after that massive tangent of waffling about what I'm going to be doing this season, I hope to see you in the next video, which will be about wormeries, hopefully. I'm actually going to film that now, so I'll be the same this week as I will next week. I'll either be standing in the same place. So I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.